The brain only learns we only see reality based on pattern recognition. I memorized your face, now I know Louis. And if the pattern matches, I know. But if you're creating a future, and you're not clear on that future, and you want all these things, but you haven't addressed all those circuits and behaviors and emotions and chemicals of the past, you won't recognize the pattern. You'll walk right past the relationship. You'll never see it. So I think that there's the preparation for the relationship, the overcoming, and overcoming and overcoming and overcoming and overcoming and becoming. Ooh. All of a sudden now says, I am worthy. And the universe only gives us what we think we're worthy of receiving. So when you're worthy to receive, it's not going to be on Match.com when you're looking at body parts and whatever else. This is going to be like ka-ching.
An energy connection.
Wow. Yeah. Like that came out of nowhere, because when you're in survival and you're in separation and you're in lack and you're forcing and controlling and trying to predict outcomes, you're matter trying to change matter. And of course, it's going to take time for this to happen, because you're creating in three-dimensional reality, and everything in three-dimensional reality, it takes time. Mm-hmm. But when you're creating from the heart, with a coherent brain and a coherent heart, and you got that 5G Wi-Fi signal, it's not like you go anywhere now. The experiences are coming to, you're drawing the event to you. So we spend a lot of time bonding with our future emotionally. I have colleagues of mine who look at our data on oxytocin, and they're like, listen, oxytocin levels go up during, in a relationship, the honeymoon stage of a relationship, and monogamy is created because of those chemicals, or a female mammal is bonding with her offspring. That's exactly right. I want our people, our students, to bond and fall in love with their future just like they do with somebody else. And when you're bonded to your future, no person, no circumstance, no thing is going to remove you from it. So then, if you fall from grace during the day, then the next question is, what person, what circumstance caused me to disconnect from my love in the future? And let me rehearse in my mind, if I have that same circumstance, how I'm going to overcome it. Open your eyes and be in the initiation of life and stay in that place and just know that your future is going to happen. So being able to activate the heart and breathe in there and get the body out of survival and start working with it like it feels safe enough to create. Once energy makes it here, you're going to get some really good ideas. Yeah. You're going to see things you never thought of seeing. You're going to feel things you never thought you'd feel. And the images that you're creating, what are they doing? The thoughts that you're creating, they're making more of those chemicals. And now you're feeling more of the feeling of your future before it happens. You're giving your body a sampling. A taste of the future before it's happened. Keep doing that enough times, and that feeling is going to become very familiar to you. There was a researcher out of Yale University that in the 1940s that was studying electromagnetic fields around living organisms. And in the 1940s at Yale University, nobody was doing this, and he was a vitalist. He wanted to understand the unseen fields around living organisms. So he started studying eggs. All kinds of eggs. Chicken eggs, swallow eggs, reptile eggs, snake eggs, salamander eggs. There's all kinds of eggs. And he was using a magnetometer, and what he found was, 100% of the time, no matter what egg he measured, the positive charge was always at the head, and the negative charge was always at the tail. Well, if you have positive charge on one end and negative charge on the other end, you got an external electromagnetic field called the magnetic field. That's a magnet, right? What happens with human beings is every thought has a frequency. Every thought produces a chemical. So if you keep obsessing about your lack of finances, your lack of time, your lack of energy, lack, and those thoughts.
I don't have this, I need this,
What are the chemicals you're feeding your body? You're taking thought. It's producing a frequency, and that frequency in the form of chemistry is storing that thought emotionally right in your second center. You feel guilty, you feel unhappy. The moment you feel unhappy, then you generate more thoughts equal to that feeling, which makes more chemicals, and you keep taking energy from the brain and storing it in the body. If you react to people in your life and you feel anger, frustration, whether it's traffic, the news, whatever it is, parents, whatever, you're drawing from this field This electromagnetic field, you're tapping that resource and you're making chemistry out of it and the field shrinks. So now, by doing that and living in survival, the body no longer is a magnet. So now you have very little energy in the brain. In fact, 5% of the energy is in the brain, and 95% is stored in the body. Now the body's been conditioned emotionally. So a lot of energy in the body, very little in the brain.
Focus on what you want and you'll get more of it. And that is actually true. Whatever you focus on, you move towards, which is why it is so important to focus on what you want and do not focus on what you don't want. After all, if you were having an injection in your arm and you look at it and think about it, it's more painful than if you read a message on your phone and take your attention elsewhere. So I absolutely believe, and science has proven, that when you focus on something, you go towards it. But the thing I think lets people down in the law of attraction is that it doesn't ever talk about application. It kind of says you want the best partner in the world, focus on it, think about it, imagine they're there and they will turn up. And I'm like, well, not really. If you never leave the couch, how are they going to turn up? You see, if I want a new home, I can think about the home I want, I can imagine, but I also know I've got to go and look at it. I've got to go onto websites and look at homes and then go and view that home. If I wanted a new job, I can think about the new job, imagine the new job, and believe I can manifest it, but I also need to apply for that new job, go for interviews, put myself out there. Let's imagine you want the career of your dreams, or maybe you want to start your own business, and that's all good, and you can use the law of attraction to visualize the career of your dreams, to visualize someone funding your business, setting up your startup, and it's a great visualization. You can use vision boards, you can use meditation, you can use so many things to excite your imagination, to fire off those neurons that go, hey, I can do this, but you still have to take action. The best plan in the world may not work if you don't work too. You see, I had an idea to write a book, and I knew I was going to sit down and write a book, and I did sit down and write a book, but I had to also find an agent, speak to people. I was very lucky that as I was beginning to write my book, I went to a dinner party, sat next to someone, happened to be an agent, which was very useful. And then I started to tell one of my clients I was writing a book, and she said, you know, the best agent in town is one of your patients. I'm like, really? Oh yeah. So I contacted him. He came to my house. He ended up being my agent, but I also had to do work. I had to write that book. I had to have the confidence it was an amazing book. And agents will tell you, people go, oh, hey, I could do a Harry Potter. I've written a book, here it is. And they go, actually, no, it's not quite right. Decide you are worth it. That is so important. It's one of the most, but not the most important step. Decide you're worth it, and then decide what you are going to do to get it. What are the steps you are going to take to make that law of attraction real? What are you going to do if you hit a roadblock and the first thing you hear is no? So remember, you must take the action, you must be committed, you must be disciplined, you must have belief and faith and a very strong work ethic too, because the best plan in the world may not work if you don't work with it.
Once you start appreciating your boss, your clients, they appreciate you back. So in my 20s, the reason why I was successful was I was a little unique in so many different things. For example, when I was doing accounting consulting, I divided my clients to two groups. One, I do regular job. The other, I always bring something whenever I got to meet them, just herb tea, Japanese tea, like a book, or just not super expensive. So in 6 months, I got so many referrals from the gift-giving groups. You know, I didn't ask for any clients, right? But they gave me so many referrals. And the second, group, not so much. So I recommend everybody to start giving more, something a little extra, not like 30% more, but something to show your appreciation. And it doesn't really matter if you're florists or cleaners or business lawyers or a dentist. If you start giving something, you get more. So this is the law, I think. If you give more, you receive more. And then there is one more extra reason to appreciate about. So your life would shift. So your whole energy would be so different and so content. And I think people want to do business with happier people. People don't want to go with people who are very depressed. So the people with the radiance of appreciation often attracts more people and more opportunities. So this is not a new age or a spiritual thing. It's a practice to appreciate more. So what you appreciate appreciates. And I think it's so simple. So start appreciating about money is the first step. And then second step is start appreciating what you have. And if you start sharing what you have, I call it gift. All of us have gifts. I've written probably like half of my books, 20 books on how to discover your gifts and monetize them. Because each of us is born with a special gift and something to be shared with this planet. And if you can find it, and if you can improve it, and you can polish it, and just share with a society, I think that translates into money. So I wrote a national bestseller, Do What You Love and Make Sure Money Follows You. So it's very important. You have to have both.
You can't want something that you don't have and be a vibrational match to it. You have to be what you want, and then you can have it. In other words, you have to feel prosperity equivalent to your request. You got to get in the vortex. The vortex has to be familiar to you. And the thing that's so interesting about that is you tune yourself to the frequency of the vortex, and you're not saying, I want to win the jackpot. You're saying, money's flowing to me in abundance. It comes in as fast as it can go out. I have no need for money. Money is flowing in. It's like air. I breathe it in and I breathe it out, and I breathe it in and I breathe it out, and I breathe it in and I breathe it out. In and out, in and out, in and out. It just comes to me naturally, you see. You got to get into the vortex, and then the vortex gives you everything that you need to figure it out as you go. I believe that these dollars are there for me. I believe that there's a path to them that will be an easy path for me. I believe that the path is through the vortex. I believe the path is through my emotions. I believe the path is through the alignment with source energy that is really the larger part of me. I believe that my emotions tell me truly. I believe that when I'm frustrated, I'm not there. I believe that when I'm hopeful, I'm closer. I believe that when I'm happy, I'm there. I believe that when I appreciate, I'm there. I believe that when I make peace with what is, I'm there. I believe that when I appreciate the process of my life that caused me to put this solution there, that I'm there. I love every struggle that I've lived because that's been the fodder that put this there. I believe that the well-being that I've lived and the well-being that hasn't felt so much like well-being has put it there for me. I know that I'm the creator of my own reality. I know that these things are true. I know that I get to live the manifestational version of all of that. I believe that I can live the manifestational version of that. I think there's evidence all over this planet of people who stood right where I'm standing in terms of finances, who had a vortex just like I do that was all queued up for them, and they just found the way in. And I don't have to find the identical way in. I don't have to run around and look for people and say, how'd you get your money? How'd you get your money? How'd you get your money? Because it's different for every one of us. But one thing is a common denominator about anyone who has succeeded in anything that they've been reaching for. They found a way to be a vibrational match to what they were asking for. And that's all I've got to do.
You can never create prosperity by talking or thinking about your lack of money. This is wasted thinking and cannot bring you abundance. Dwelling on lack only creates more lack. Poverty thinking brings more poverty, and gratitude thinking brings abundance. There are a few affirmations and attitudes that are guaranteed to keep prosperity beyond reach. Resenting other people for the amount of money they may have just puts up a wall between you and your own flow. Open your consciousness to new ideas about money, and it will be yours. There is never enough money. Now that is a terrible affirmation to use. Also the one, money goes out faster than it comes in. This is poverty thinking of the worst kind. The universe can only respond to what you believe about yourself and about life. If you think that winning the lottery will solve all of your problems, you are greatly mistaken, because it doesn't involve changing consciousness. In effect, you're saying to the universe, I don't deserve to have good in my life except by a fluke chance. If you would only change your consciousness, your thinking, to allow the abundance of the universe to flow through your experience, you could have all the things you think the lottery can bring you. And you'd be able to keep them because they would be yours by right of consciousness. Affirming, declaring, deserving, and allowing are the steps to demonstrating riches far greater than you could ever win in a lottery. Another thing that can keep you from prospering is being dishonest. Whatever you give out in life comes back to you, always. And if you take from life, then life will take from you. It is that simple. You may feel that you don't steal, but are you counting the paper clips and stamps you may take from the office? Or are you a person who steals time, or robs others of respect, or perhaps steals relationships? All these things count and are a way of saying to the universe, I don't really deserve the good in life. I have to sneak around and take it. So become aware of the beliefs that may be blocking the flow of money in your life, and then change those beliefs and begin to create new, abundant thinking. Even if no one else in your family has done this, you can open your mind to the concept of money flowing into your life. If we want to prosper, then we must use prosperity thinking. I have 2 prosperity affirmations I've used for many years, and they work well for me. They'll also work for you. 1, my income is constantly increasing. And 2, I prosper wherever I turn. I had very little money when I started using them, but consistent practice has made them come true for me. You know, for a long time I've believed that business is a place where we bless and prosper each other. I've never understood the concept of cutthroat business, where you try to cheat and put one over on the other person. That doesn't sound like a joyous way to live. There is so much abundance in this world if we would but just share it. At Hay House, my publishing firm, we have always been honest, honorable, we live up to our word, we do our work well, and treat others with respect and generosity. When you live that way, it is impossible to keep the money away. The universe rewards you at every possible turn. Today we have a fabulous reputation in the publishing world and so much business that we are turning it away. We do not want to grow so big that we lose the personal touch. Now, if I, an abused child who did not finish high school, can do it, so can you. Once a day, stand with your arms open wide and say with joy, I am open and receptive to all the good and abundance in the universe. And thank you, life. Life will hear you and respond.
The source of abundance is infinite. Why? Because the source of every experience is consciousness. And consciousness is by definition non-local, has no form, and therefore it's infinite. And the source of all experience is infinite, and therefore it can never be in short supply. So if we think deeply about this first law, the source of abundance is infinite, then of course we want to get in touch with that source. And that source is our innermost being, which is the field of all possibilities, the field of unpredictability, and the source of intention and desire, the field of that is evolving in the direction of truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, and love, the field that is inexhaustible as a source for ongoing creativity and abundance. And it is simple to get in touch with this source by transcending the mind through meditation, through self-awareness, through self-reflection, through self-inquiry, through mindful awareness of every experience, mindful awareness of body, mindful awareness of the processes of the mind, mindful awareness of the web of relationship, mindful awareness of mental space, and to engage this source of infinite possibilities by asking questions and receiving answers. I've been in the habit of doing that every day, all my life, and reviewing this process every night before I go to sleep. Whatever you want to receive, start by giving. So we can, start with simple things. If you want attention, you pay attention to others. If you want respect, you give respect to others. If you want love, you give your love to everyone that you meet. And respect, love, attention, affection, appreciation, acceptance are very simple things to start with. But if you want to generate wealth, then figure out a way to generate wealth for others. And also figure out how you can activate abundance consciousness in others. And one way to do this is also to experience gratitude. So when you experience gratitude, it opens the door to abundance consciousness. So think of all the things you're grateful for, material things, relationships, health, on and on, career. And as you open the door of gratitude, it leads to the realm of abundance. Start with giving. Once in a while, when I'm in New York City, I go to the bank and I get some cash. And then I walk around the city giving cash or dollars to homeless people on the street. And don't do it casually. Do it sincerely. Look them in the eyes, talk to them, and see their reaction when you give them $20 or whatever. You'll see the gratitude in your eyes, and you feel a connection between spirit and spirit. And so this exchange, by the way, that's what money is also called, the exchange, the currency of exchange. So start with that process and live in that process. Don't stop the flow of abundance by hoarding money. If you hoard money, it's of no use.
We had a Thanksgiving where literally we had no food and we wouldn't have starved, but we weren't going to have a Thanksgiving dinner. And there was a knock at the door, and that knock changed my life because it was someone who delivered food for us. It was just a delivery man. The person who actually sent it didn't acknowledge who they were. And the man said, "This is just a gift for you and your family." And my father didn't react very well to it at the time, didn't want charity, but out of necessity he took it in. And I just remember at that time thinking to myself, why is it that my father worked so hard? Because he did work, he wasn't unemployed. And yet here we are with no money on Thanksgiving, not even for food. And it's just, my whole life had been that way. And I couldn't understand why we were living on the other side of the tracks. I lived in what I thought was a rich community. It was actually a middle-class community, lower middle class. But everybody else, we lived right next to the railroad tracks, quite literally. And everyone seemed like living a different lifestyle. And I couldn't understand. My father, I felt was as good as their fathers as a person. Why did we have such lack? Why was there such scarcity? Why did they have so much abundance and us not have any? And I really didn't have the answer until I sat in that room with Jim Rohn. And he asked a question. He said, what does it really take to do well financially? What does it take to have real economic abundance? And he said, you must bring value to the marketplace. I'll never forget. And I thought, what the hell is he talking about? Value to the marketplace. And he made it very clear that we all have value in our own souls, but that's not what we get paid for. We also don't get paid for effort. We don't get paid for our time. We get paid to find a way to add value. And the question he asked at the time was, how is it possible that some people earn twice as much money as you do, or 4 times, or 5 times, or 10 times as much money in the same amount of time? And he said the answer is because they found a way to add more value. That is the secret to abundance. Do more for others than anyone else on earth. And if you can do that, you can build a brand, you can build a company, you can build a life, you can build friendships that are beyond compare. And so that simple little philosophy was really simple. And he went a little deeper. He was very specific. He said, if you look at it, I remember at the time he said, if you work for McDonald's in those days, he said, you make $2.50 an hour. And I remember he said, somebody's making $2.50 an hour and they're barely surviving. Today, working at McDonald's, you make $8 an hour by contrast, with a little inflation. But this is 1977. And he said, so why do these people make so little? And he gave the example back then of the gentleman who was the head of Disney, and he's made $52 million in the same year. One person's making $2.50 an hour, somebody else makes $52 million. He said, how is that possible? Isn't that fair? Isn't that unfair? And I remember at the time him pausing and saying, well, anybody can learn within an hour how to really do the numbers and use a cash register. In fact, today, you don't even know the numbers. You just push a button with a picture on it, right? So anybody can do that. It's not being disrespectful. So there's not a lot of added value. In fact, soon robotics will probably take most of that over because it's not something that expands the human spirit. It's not a complex task that makes us expand or grow and offer something. But he said, the guy that figured out how to turn Disney around with having trouble is worth $52 million because he's bringing joy and happiness and love and laughter to millions and millions of people. So if you help millions of people, you're going to do well. In the Bible, it says, if you wish to become great, learn to become the servant of many, which, as Jim used to say, is, that means there's nothing wrong with wanting to be great. But greatness comes from serving a large number of people or at a deep level, one of the two. And so you look at it today, and today the story is the same. You work at McDonald's, it's $8 an hour, and I just got finished writing a book where I interviewed 50 of the most successful financial people on earth that started with nothing. And you look at a guy last year, David Tepper was the highest paid hedge fund guy. He got paid $3.5 billion last year. Now that looks like incredibly unjust experience. It's insane. It's insane to think that man's going to make 3.5 and someone else is going to make $15,000 a year at $8 an hour, basically. How could you justify that? Well, if you find a way to add more value, you can earn more and you can be abundant. He figured a way to get a 40% return for people. In a world where most people are putting their money in a savings account, getting 33 basis points, 1/3 of 1%. If you got people a 1% return, he'd be having 300% more value. But he's adding 12,000% more value for his investors. These people have taken their money and they're able to do things for their families, for their businesses, for the causes they care about because he's growing it at a multiplied level because he developed this incredible set of skills. And how did he do it? The way Jim Rohn teaches. He learned to work harder on himself. He learned to master skills no one else had that could add value to others. So introducing you to Jim Rohn and abundance, I just want to mark out that you can earn 10 times more, 20 times more, 100 times more in the same amount of time if you work harder on yourself than anything else, if you find a way to do more for others than anyone else. And then it goes beyond money. Then it goes to understanding abundance as an emotion, like love, like joy. It's the most amazing thing. The more of it that we give, the more of it we experience inside.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's what the science says. And that is not good enough, Believe Nation. We need to do better. When you actually get motivated and then create a specific plan of action for what you're going to do this week, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you publicly commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment below in this video, it jumps even higher. So I want that for you. I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week so I can celebrate with you.
God said, Joshua, keep this law book on your lips. Joshua was a young guy, just like you, wanted to do something good in life. God says, here's the secret. Keep this book of the law on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. He says, and be careful to do everything written in it. And then he says, the result is this. You will make your way prosperous. And you will have good success. The two things you're trying to get are related to law. You think you're ready to work hard, work and no. You can work hard and still be broke. Ask the person next to you. Don't look right now. It ain't hard work that does it. Slaves work hard. Study history. Slaves are hard-working people. They don't even own themselves. So working hard is not the secret. It's laws. If you keep my laws, meditate, talk about them on your lips. He says they will what? You will make your way prosperous. That means you make your own prosperity. Yes. By what? Doing the laws. You only use your car to go to work. Something wrong with that. You could serve some people with your car. Pick an old lady up from the geriatric to take out every week, once a week. Use your car. There's a law. He says, you will make your way prosperous. You have good success. Look at Jeremiah. God says, 29 verse 11, I know the plans I have for you, God says. Plans to prosper you. What kind of God is this? Now, why does he want you to prosper? Namesake. I plan for my product to prosper, he says. What else? Not to harm you. Why? Because my name is on you. I can't have a broken product. That's bad for my reputation as a company. You know how I pray when I have a need? I say, Lord, this ain't good for you. I can tell everybody. And the needs keep being met. You don't pray for your sake. I have a plan, he says, for you. A plan to prosper you, not to harm you. A plan to give you what? Hope. And I got to make sure you make it to the destiny. What's the destiny? The destiny of a bird is to fly. I got to make sure you make it to flight. The destiny of a seed is to become a tree with fruit. I got to make sure you make it to the fruit-bearing stage. I have to make sure you make it to your end because my name is on the line. When you got laws, you can even smell what ain't going to work. Success is not luck. You got to make sure you keep obeying laws. When I counsel people, I would tell them, look, you violated a law. And look, okay, listen, you want this marriage to work? There's some laws. Ain't no magic. I can't pray for you to have a good marriage. There's some laws involved in this. Ain't no devil in this. Your marriage got law problems. I was blaming the devil for things. Laws. If the axe is what? Dull. Much strength is needed with no success. But with skill, success comes how? Even quickly. The guy said, 2 minutes, finish. Now the problem is when he's finished. See, you want to prosper, okay? Prosperity comes from what? Laws. The guy bought some laws to the car. Now he gonna prosper. You ain't gonna prosper. You losing. If you didn't know the laws of a car yourself, he wouldn't get your money. So you'll be prospering yourself. You take your money to a dentist because you can't fix your teeth. You take your money to the doctor because you can't fix your body. You take your money to the lawyer because you can't understand the contract. In other words, when a person develops their skill, you take their money to them. It's a law. So why would the NFL call me? They saw a skill. And believe me, your skill is developed for a long time without pay. Just keep working on it. Just keep working. Sometimes you got to work with the children first, you know. Some of you want to be big right away. No, go work in children's church first. Just work on it. I learned to teach by talking to kids who didn't know when I messed up. Let me say it again. You want to be a public speaker? Go teach in children's church. The kids don't know when you don't do right. Go work in the nursery. Talk to them babies. Tell them about God. They don't know if you're messing up. Practice your gift at every opportunity. Stop looking for a check. Look for an opportunity. Work your gift. Work your gift. So he says, if the axe is dull, the edge is unsharpened, you got to work hard and get nothing done. But with laws, skill makes it successful.